Yeah, you tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H2.0. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear.
Welcome to the Queendom, it's 2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must.
This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought.
Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me envy. Unleash the dragon.
Subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Sunday morning revelation. Gather round, the books are open. It's called the reckoning. Watch it fall! Check the ledger, check the dates, the truth is finally unpaid. Ivana's name is whispering, haunting Donald from the grave. The Epstein vault is cracking, yeah, the seals are getting torn. A legacy of shadows and a storm is being born. Now look at Cannon in the court. She's playing with the flame, trying to delete the data, trying to hide the shame. She's scrubbing out the history, clicking delete fast. But you can't erase the digital when the die is already cast. We see you charge, it's the reckoning. It's coming down on our shit, running through the night. The king is in the counting house, but where is the quiet? Justice is a dead, time to pay the price. Everything in the dark is coming to the light. They promised you a golden age, they promised you the moon, but that Trump economy just popped like a balloon. The real data's emerging and the numbers never lie. While the workers at the bottom watch the circle classify. Now the X-Feds are rising, they're trading in the badge, running for the office to stop the grand sabotage. They're the great wet fighters, standing in the bright while the admins in a meltdown, losing every fight. The president is losing it, he's typing in the rage, sending out a fake list, trying to turn the page. But the staff is all collapsing, the circle's getting small. A house of cards is leaning, waiting for the fall. MN44 is talking, yeah, Obama broke the seal, addressing it, videos and keeping it real. Back money on the track, 2020 in the sight. The reckoning is here, and we're heading for the fight. Sunday morning truth coming down, crashing down. No more secrets, no more delete keys. Justice. Yes, just the truth. Sunday service is over. 'Cause awakening has begun. Let it be heard.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. I'm back with another live. It is Sunday, y'all. Sunday morning, 11:19 a.m. here Eastern Time in the Carolinas in the United States. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you are having a great day in whatever respectful time zone you're in, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night for you. I hope you're having a good Sunday. I hope you had a great weekend. But we got some more things to get into, y'all. I'll be trying to cover it, but it's so much, it's so much coming out all the time. So you just be doing this, rocking like this just about every day with the updates. I'm here to bring them to y'all, okay? So grab some coffee if you drink coffee and get settled, because the truth is officially outrunning the cover up. We got a massive show today. I got a few things to show, a little bit more than usual. But first, y'all, we'll be getting into, and we cannot back away from these Epstein Files, okay? They are back, and they are revealing a haunting connection to Ivana Trump that is shaking the political world. Then we also going to be looking at Judge Aileen Cannon. Is she actually trying to scrub the record and delete files for Donald Trump? We got the receipts on the latest legal sabotage, plus the Trump boom. Just got a rude awakening as the real 2026 economic data finally emerges, showing who is actually being left behind. We'll talk about the ex-federal workers that are rising up to run for office, the chaos inside the administration as a fake list of achievements circulate to hide a collapse. And we also will be hearing a little bit from Barack Obama. He's finally breaking his silence on that viral ape video. And he'll be talking about what he thinks the 2028 landscape is going to look like. And finally, you won't want to miss our video at the end from one of my new faves, Reese Waters. He's here to explain why Racist Valentine's Day is officially canceled. Yesterday was a mess, child. And we got a few things that he's going to be showing us in his video. And we're going to break it all down in this live. So the first video, y'all, we're going to get into is how Ivana Trump seems to be haunting Trump from the grave via the Epstein Files. Newly unredacted filings from the Epstein investigative trove have brought Ivana Trump's name back into the spotlight. Reports suggest that her old social calendars and records of meetings from decades ago are providing a roadmap for current investigators. The past associates are resurfacing just as the administration tries to brand the entire Epstein case a hoax, proving that the past never really stays buried. Let's go ahead and get into some of that. I'm going to go ahead and get that up here for y'all to hear, and I will meet y'all in the chat per usual.
gets darker, it gets deeper. Ivana Trump, her very mysterious death in 2022, where she allegedly fell down steps at her Manhattan apartment. Let's talk about her potential KGB ties through her, who is providing information about Donald Trump to the KGB. Let's talk about the trip that Donald Trump and Ivana took that was sponsored by the KGB to Russia in 1987. Let's talk about what Ivana says that Donald Trump did to her. She says that Donald Trump raped her. She then retracted the statement partially in connection with a book that was published, but it was after she gave deposition testimony about it, and especially everything we know that's in the Epstein Files about Epstein's connections to Russia, being reported that Epstein was a banker for Vladimir Putin, Epstein speaking to people like the former prime minister of Norway about meeting with Sergei Lavrov and others to provide information about Donald Trump to Putin and others in Russia. The statements that are in lots of these emails and messages that seem to indicate that there was lots of murder and death in addition to the child sex trafficking ring taking place, and torture and all these horrible things. When you start reading these files that we've been covering, I think it's important that we just rip the Band-Aid off and talk about this. And I think it's important we talk about from the outset as well where Ivana Trump is buried, that Donald Trump's first wife is buried in the back lot of Bedminster. And apparently this gives Donald Trump tax breaks by having his first wife buried there, because he could claim that Bedminster is actually a cemetery. And then he gets cemetery tax credits, so he doesn't have to pay taxes out of Bedminster, which is absolutely ghoulish. And then the Trump family, at least for a significant period of time, is basically threw Ivana in like the back lot area of like the golf course, like in the rubbish area, and they let the grass grow over it. They didn't provide any type of proper grave, like real disgusting stuff. The Daily Mail, remember, published photos of what went down. We will talk briefly about the marriage. Donald Trump and Ivana were married for 15 years, April 1977 to December 1990. Ivana was born in Czechoslovakia, and then Donald Trump had an affair with Marla Maples. It became public right around 1989, 1990. That's when Donald Trump and Ivana got divorced ultimately in 1990. They entered into a $14 million settlement. Ivana Trump dies July 14, 2022, at the age of 73. She's being filmed and she looks fine, and she talks about her life and how happy she is. The New York City office of the chief medical examiner determined that the cause of her death was blunt impact injuries to the torso resulting from a purported accidental fall down the stairs in her Manhattan apartment. And again, I don't want you to think I'm suggesting anything here. And again, I'm entitled to my First Amendment opinion speech. I'm simply going to say a lot of people in Russia die that way. They mysteriously fall off of balconies or fall down steps or things like this, especially as we've been reading the ghoulish and horrific and grotesque and criminal and all these horrible things in the Epstein Files. I think it's important to talk about this book that was written and that features this horrific incident between Donald Trump and Ivana. The book is called The Last Tycoon: The Many Lives of Donald Trump. And this is an incident that it talks about in the book between Donald Trump and Ivana. Let me just read it for you. This was while they were married. Ivana said this during a deposition. The book published it. It's graphic. I want to warn you in advance. Trigger warning. Let me just read what Ivana said in her deposition. Ivana Trump was relaxing in the master bedroom of the Trump Tower triplex, thinking about the trip she will be going to take to Tahiti. The trip will not just be for a vacation. It has to do with Donald's business. Lauren Etes, the widow of the late Trump gaming division executive Mark Etes, will be going with her. Ivana has been hoping the trip will help them get over the tragedy of the helicopter crash. Suddenly, according to Ivana, the Donald storms into the room. He's looking very angry and he's cursing out loud. Your fucking doctor has ruined me, he screams. The Donald flings Ivana down onto the bed. Then he pins back her arms and grabs her by the hair. The part of her head he is grabbing corresponds to the spot on his head where his scalp reduction operation has been done. The Donald starts ripping out Ivana's hair by the handful as if he's trying to make her feel the same kind of pain that he is feeling. Ivana starts crying and screaming. The entire bed is being covered with strands of her golden locks, but the Donald does not finish. He rips off her clothes, unzips his pants, then he jams his penis inside her. For the first time in more than 16 months, Ivana is terrified. This is not lovemaking. This is not romantic. It is a violent assault. She later describes what the Donald is doing to her in no uncertain terms. According to the version she repeats to some of her closest confidants, he raped me. When the Donald finally pulls out, Ivana jumps up from her bed. Then she runs upstairs to her mother's room. She locks the door and stays there crying for the rest of the night. The next morning, Ivana musters up the courage to return to the master bedroom. The Donald is there waiting for her. He leaves no doubt that he knows exactly what he did to her the night before. As she looks in horror at the ripped out hair scattered all over the bed, he glares at her and asks with a menacing casualness, "Does it hurt?" Then the author goes on to say, on April 7, 1993, when the first printing of The Last Tycoon was awaiting shipment, the publisher, who had met with Donald Trump and his lawyers on March 3rd, received the following communication from Donald Trump's lawyers. The statement by Ivana Trump does not contradict or invalidate any information contained in this book, and it is included here only to give full expression to differing viewpoints on an important event. And then here's the statement from Ivana Trump. During a deposition given by me in connection with my matrimonial case, I stated that my husband had raped me. I wish to say that on one occasion, during 1989, Mr. Trump and I had marital relations in which he behaved very differently toward me than he had during our marriage. As a woman, I felt violated, as the love and tenderness which he normally exhibited toward me was absent. I referred to this as rape, but I don't want my words to be interpreted in a literal or criminal sense. Any contrary conclusion would be an incorrect and most unfortunate interpretation of my statement, which I do not want to be interpreted in a speculative fashion, and I do not want the press or media to misconstrue anything that I said. And she goes on to say, please print this statement. And this was her retraction of what she said. This book, by the way, was written by Harry Hurt III. If you want to read the full thing, I want to read this for you as well. This was an article back in 2019 from the Daily Beast. The family that worked for Jeffrey Epstein and Trump. Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump's first ex-wife, Ivana, moved in the same glittering Palm Beach social circles and hired members of the same family as employees. Epstein and the Trumps didn't just share the same rarefied air of Palm Beach society. The multimillionaire sex offender and at least one member of the Trump clan hired employees from the same family too. While Janice Bansiak served as Epstein's Palm Beach house manager, his wife and stepdaughter snagged jobs with another famous face in town, President Trump's former wife, Ivana, the Daily Beast learned. As Epstein's butler for more than a decade, Bansiak testified that he lived in a staff house attached to the financier's waterfront property, answered the door for girls who gave Epstein massages, and kept wads of cash to hand them on their way out. His spouse, Radhika Bansiak, is linked to Epstein's El Brio Way mansion through addresses of her driver's license, and previous voter registration records. Ophelia found long-term employment working for Ivana Trump until the socialite sold her Palm Beach home in 2014. That year, Ophelia's 25-year-old daughter, a law student at Columbia University, also landed a summer job with Ivana too. An online resume for the daughter, which was found on a website, includes a job with Mrs. Ivana Trump from May 14, 2014 to July of 2014. I want to remind you all as well that Donald Trump and Ivana took a trip together to Russia, as I said at the outset, in 1987. And regarding these issues of potential spying that was taking place, let me just share this with you. Czechoslovakia ramped up spying on Trump in the late 1980s, seeking U.S. intel, aided by Ivana Trump's father. Intelligence services with KGB ties targeted high-level government officials. The Communist Intelligence Service in Prague stepped up its spying campaign against Trump in the late 1980s, targeting him to gain information about the upper echelons of U.S. government, archival files, and testimony from former Cold War spies. spies revealed. Czechoslovakia's STB carried out a long-term spying mission against Trump following his marriage in 1977 to Ivana. The operation was run out of a provincial town in Czechoslovakia where she was born and grew up. Her father, Milo Zelnicki, gave regular information to the local STB office about his daughter's visit from the U.S. and on his celebrity son-in-law's career in New York. Zelnick was classified as a conspiratorial informer. His relationship with STB lasted until the end of the communist regime. Trump was, of course, a very interesting person for us. He was a businessman. He had a lot of contacts, even in U.S. politics. We were focusing on him when we knew he was influential. We had information that he wanted to be a president in the future, was what former KGB-related people were saying about Donald Trump then. So they were clearly monitoring him back then. And then FBI, Bloomberg got this, Jason Leopold, great reporter. FBI releases secret files on Ivana Trump. This is May 2023. And it talks about these links as well. And of course, there was that 1987 trip that I mentioned before. Let me get us more data points here as well. I want to share this with you. Let's pull this open. This was from 2017. Here's what Ivana Trump had to say, just so you get a sense of this was a few years before she died by allegedly rolling down the stairs. Let's play this clip right here.
Do you miss the old life?
The old life?
Life with Donald?
I don't. No. Nothing really changed. I have a beautiful home here. I have a spectacular apartment in Miami. I have a 300-year-old fisherman houses in harbor of the Saint-Tropez. What more can I have?
This was Donald Trump and Ivana on Oprah. You can listen to this for yourself.
Do you all argue?
Yes, but not greatly. I'll tell you truthfully, we don't have tremendous fights. We should have world record-setting fights, but we really don't. We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
See, wait a minute.
Male chauvinist.
Right, men? Is that right?
This is what she had to say. This is what Ivana had to say after the divorce. Just showing you some clips of her right here.
But she didn't just lose her husband. In the same year, Ivana lost the other most important man in her life when her father died suddenly of a heart attack.
I was a little bit numb, and maybe that helped me also when my father passed away, because it just cannot get any worse. It just has to get better.
You say in the book you thought the divorce perhaps contributed to your father's heart condition.
I just know that my father was devastated, and my father was humiliated because I was his pride and joy in his life. I know that he took it very hard. It's just unfortunate it did happen at a time when I did need him most.
How did you compensate for that, Ivana?
You don't.
As for her ex, Donald's new life now includes Marla, baby Tiffany, and reflections on why it is not a good idea to put your wife to work for you. When I interviewed him last year, Donald said he regretted having had Ivana run his Atlantic City casinos and the Plaza Hotel.
I think that was the single greatest cause of what happened to my marriage with Ivana.
If I look at it now, I think it was a terrible idea.
Ivana would get angry at somebody over the telephone all of a sudden who was at the casino. And she'd start shouting. And I'd say, I don't want my wife shouting at somebody like that.
Well, if you go into work and if you have 4,500 employees and the vice president, you cannot be little pussycat.
There was a great softness to Ivana. And she still has that softness. But during this period of time, she became an executive, not a wife.
Suddenly the whole romance and whole evening goes because you're talking business and you're talking what has to be done and repaired and this, rather than being romantic with each other.
What I do find notable as well is what one of the victims, survivors, what Maria Farmer, who came forward, had to say about Donald Trump. And, all of Maria Farmer had to say about Ivana Trump being Ghislaine's best friend. And it's notable because Melania was then friends with Ghislaine. Remember G, Sweet Pea, that they called each other. Here's what Maria Farmer had to say about Ivana Trump being best friends with Ghislaine at this time as well. Let's play this clip.
Ivana Trump was like her best friend.
And with
Ivana.
Yeah, with Ivana, then, I described that, she'd be there. How
That
often?
was creepy. So at the time, Ivana had this, she was doing QVC, selling jewelry, right? Online. I mean, on TV. She was like a QVC queen. Donald Trump. And Donald Trump was always hanging out with Epstein, and Ivana was always hanging out with Aileen.
Right.
And Ivana would say, we're going to go pick up Ivana, or Ivana's going to come. And we'd ride in the car with her. And I remember one occasion where Aileen's like, I have to get out right now. And she went and got a number from a child. And I saw in a uniform.
Yeah. And
everybody knew what they were doing. Everybody who surrounded them knew exactly what they were doing.
And but how often, did you go for rides often with her and Ivana?
Yes.
And would she pick up girls all the time?
Yes. She didn't bring them in the car. She would get their phone numbers.
Right.
But she would drive by schools.
Right. So
as they got out.
So would she? Yeah. And what's Ivana doing at this point? What are
sitting in the car? And I'll never forget, because one day I was really weirded out by what had happened. I was really weirded out. So I'm sorry, my phone's beeping in. Just give it a second. But anyway, I've got to go in a second. But I just wanted to tell you, I was weirded out when they were driving around with this. So Aileen to shut me up, gave me one of those cheap bracelets Ivana was selling on QVC, and said, Ivana wants you to have this. And I threw it in the garbage.
It's notable. And then you have this clip as well of Maria Farmer, one of Epstein's victims, about an incident where she was in Epstein's office building. Let's play this clip right here, right now.
The time that is most memorable to me is the time when he hit on me, because I was in the office. It was one of the first times I started working for Donald Trump's a sleazebag. Okay.
Yes.
It was when I started working for Epstein, and it was 9:00 at night.
Right.
And Jeffrey Epstein's office was totally empty. I told the New York Times this, but of course they don't tell the whole thing, right? Even though Mike Baker is amazing, but they would not allow him to tell the truth. Right. So basically, I go into this office. It's 9:00 at night, and I sit down. And a few minutes later, and I'm wearing running clothes. Okay, so it was really weird. It's 9:00 at night, and I'm wearing running clothes because I didn't have money, so I did jog up there.
Right.
And so I've just struggled, for so long. So I'm like up there in the office, seated, and I've got my, my running clothes on, so my legs are showing. And in walks this man that, when I reported into the FBI, said that game show host, Donald Trump, because I thought he was a game show host.
Yeah.
He's so cheesy, But anyway, so I said, I said hello to him. He walks in, and I just kind of acknowledged him like a head nod or something.
Yeah.
And he immediately starts, he's standing across the room from me, and I'm seated. And he's like, oh, Maria, no, he didn't. Sorry. I was just looking at something. He's standing across the room, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, oh, gross. This guy's so gross. Anyway, he's just glaring at my legs. Like, yum. I told my sister, I felt like I was his dinner or his lunch,
Yeah.
the way he was looking at me. So Epstein comes in. And by the way, I did not look good. I was like, I'm not exceptionally beautiful or anything like that. These are just gross people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm just like a normal person who went on a run, and I'm seated there. So he assumed I was there for him. And this is how I know. Epstein walks up to him and goes, no, she's not here for you. And they were smirking, and Epstein whispered something. He goes, go in there. And so Trump at 9:00 at night goes in the other room. There's someone in there for him.
Right.
I don't know who. But Epstein said, no, she's not here for you.
So you can make the connections as well for yourself. But I think, especially in light of everything we've seen in the Epstein files, all of this is, I think, very, very notable. And you just tell me what you think right there. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
All right, y'all. So what do y'all think about that? A lot of truth is coming out. This is the year of truth being revealed. And Lord, it has gotten off to a very big run. and it has not stopped since. But you know, one of the things I guess that many people have questioned and have been talking about, not just around this Epstein situation, but even back with the Diddy situation. My question is that I often ask when it comes to individuals that can sometimes, you know, formulate stories that they remember or things that they thought were pretty weird or odd that was happening that they may have bear witness to or known about. And in some of these people's defense, some of these people did try to come out and speak on these things and bring it to the proper authorities' attention, but it got overlooked. You know, they swept it under the rug. They didn't do anything about it. Some of these people, I think they just, you know, removed themselves away from these people and just, you know, took some of that stuff that they seen or they knew was happening to the grave. They didn't do much interference to try to stop it. Maybe because they thought that it was not going to be beneficial at all. Because if you do try to reach out and say something, there's so many of these big, rich, powerful people that can just, you know, make it seem as though you're crazy and what you're saying is because you're jealous or you want something from them or you're trying to blackmail them. And you know, all of the things that they say and that have been said. So it's really hard to actually, you know, I guess kind of formulate how we really feel or stand when it comes to that. I do think that some important, pertinent people that do allow these things to happen and stay around, those are the people that I side eye as well, because, you know, you come out all these years later and now all of a sudden it's such a big problem. It's so disgusting. It's so, oh, I can't believe this. But you was rocking with them and you was rocking with it when it was all cool in the gang. And then you didn't say anything or even try, you know, and some people probably did try. But anyway, y'all, we're going to take a song break, a quick one. And then after we take a song break, we're going to get into our next talking point here, our next video for the live. We got to talk about Judge Cannon, okay? So Judge Cannon apparently was trying to delete some of these files for Donald Trump. Legal watchdogs filed emergency appeals this week alleging that Judge Cannon is attempting to clean up the docket. There are corners she is sealing or effectively deleting access to key reports, including Volume 2 of Jack Smith's final report, to prevent them from coming out and being used in future appeals. Is this judicial housekeeping, or is this a last-ditch effort to permanently erase the evidence from the historical record? Well, if you ask me, we know the internet is undefeated, and a lot of times when things is out there, especially files and stuff like this, there's multiple copies and they're in multiple possessions and hands. We just don't know who has them. But you can attempt to erase, but it's never really gone. Anyway, let's go ahead and take this quick song break, y'all. And once we come back, I do have a video that I'm going to show y'all covering that as well. So we'll be right back. Thank y'all for joining me.
They fear the truth, cause lies pay the rent. Truth hit hard, make them lose sleep. 10 toes down, I don't backtrack. Can't mute a voice when the facts clap. Truth tellers, stand up. We don't fold, we don't bend. From the streets to the suits to the fake rich friends. If it's dark, we expose it, do it over again. Facts, say it, run it. They build careers off silence and fear. Shake hands in public, plot in the rear. Paperwork clean, but the blood still fresh. Smile for the cameras, right in the flesh. They say play the game, I say name the crime. I don't wait my turn, I don't toe they line. Truth ain't safe, it don't come with guards. But I'd rather be real than protected by fraud. They blacklist names, bury the brave, then praise them later when it's socially safe. I'm talking right now, put it straight in your face. Every lie exposed is a crack in the case. Blow the whistle, hear the panic when it rings. Truth loud, no filter, no strings. I don't get permission for the things I sing. Truth tellers stand firm. Yeah, we built for the storm. everything is healed. In the days over trauma and pain, gold chains heavier than the shame. They protect the brand, sacrifice souls, call it the culture, but we know the code. If you speak too loud, they cut your lane. If you stay quiet, they let you gain. I ain't selling pain back to the youth. I ain't dressing lies up, calling it truth. I'd rather lose fame, lose access than win by silence while the wicked get passes. Tell it. Lies. Expose them. Fear. We don't. Silence. No more. Algorithms gag when you hit too close. Boost the fake, suppress what's exposed. They love the trend, hate the truth. If it wake the people, they cut the view. Influence rented, morals for sale. Everybody woke to the sponsors bill. I don't chase likes, I don't chase fame. I drop facts even if they shadow my name. Can't cancel truth, can't flag what's real. Can't mute pain that the people feel. I post it raw, let it shake the room. Blow the whistle, let it echo boom. Blow the whistle, yeah, let it scream. Every fake empire crack at the seams. Yeah, truth gonna stand tall. Even solo, we win. History don't crown the quiet, it remembers them. Yeah. Truth blow the whistle. Truth don't beg. Yeah. Truth stand 10 toes. Blow the whistle anyway.
All right, y'all. So that was just a quick little song break. So let's go ahead and get into this next video. And again, this is Ben Masalis from the Midas Touch Network. If you guys have not checked out this channel and any of his content, you really should. Please go over there and subscribe to the channel. Become a member there like I am. And yeah, listening to a lot of the videos. I mean, he is going hard in the paint, y'all. He is bringing the truth to us. We need independent news networks like this to bring us the true reportings of what's going on. And child, he really is funny too. So I think y'all will enjoy some of his videos and his channel over there. And he is working towards getting to 6 million subscribers, child. He's way up there. So y'all can help him out. Give him a subscription. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. So yeah, Judge Cannon caught trying to leak files for Donald Trump. Let's get into it. I'm gonna meet y'all in the chat.
Donald Trump and his stooge Judge Aileen Cannon are being called out before the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals for trying to destroy Volume 2 of Special Counsel Jack Smith's report in connection with his criminal prosecutions of Donald Trump. One, of course, involved Trump's conduct relating to the January 6th insurrection. That's Volume 1. Volume 2 relates to Donald Trump taking highly classified and sensitive information, like potentially nuclear secrets, and hiding it at Mar-a-Lago and then obstructing justice. That was the criminal case before Judge Aileen Cannon. You'll recall that she dismissed the case on some frivolous basis, saying that the special counsel is unconstitutional. She was the only judge to ever make that type of ruling. And then after Trump won the election, the appeals in that matter were essentially mooted. But the only issue remaining before Judge Cannon, and that has been remaining, is because all of the files and documents regarding the Mar-a-Lago document case were before her, she just needs to basically issue a release of the documents, specifically Special Counsel Jack Smith's report, Volume 2, which lays out the special counsel's findings regarding the crimes that Donald Trump was being prosecuted for. But you see, what Judge Cannon did for over a year was do nothing. After Donald Trump won the election, she refused to make any rulings at all, especially while the DOJ switched over from the Biden DOJ to the Trump DOJ. She took no action. And because she took so long to do anything, where she was supposed to make some ruling one way or another regarding the report prepared by Special Counsel Jack Smith, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals had to actually intervene. That's the circuit court that oversees the Southern District of Florida Court. Cannon's in the Fort Pierce Division. And they said, Cannon, you've got to make a ruling one way or another regarding this report.
so it can come back to us and we can decide what happens with the report. In any circumstance, this report should be released. This isn't a controversial topic. You know, special counsel reports are released. If there's highly classified information in the report, that gets redacted. We know all about redactions right now, but then that should be released to the public. And so after the 11th Circuit made that ruling, Judge Aileen Cannon set an elongated briefing schedule to try to delay even more and push this into like January and February of 2026. And then so what happened was Donald Trump in his private capacity said these documents that come from Jack Smith, they should be destroyed. And then Walt Nauta, the other defender, remember Nauta was involved in that one. He said not only should the documents be suppressed, they need Jack Smith's report and all of the documents, they need to be burned. They need to be incinerated. I kid you not. They said order that it be destroyed. And then the Department of Justice, which is supposed to be justice, is the one supposed to say, you know what, these documents by law are required to be released with proper redactions. But here, because the DOJ, as you now know, has no credibility at all, and it's just an arm of Trump's fascism, they basically said, we agree, we basically join, right? The DOJ is supposed to be on one side of the V and the criminal defendant on the other. They're like, no, we agree. Do whatever you want, Judge. We're not opposing what Trump and Nauta want. Destroy it's fine. So then this group called the Knight First Amendment Institute, they're a group at Columbia University, they then tried to intervene representing the public before Judge Aileen Cannon. And they did a petition saying, look, Judge, if you're going to adjudicate this and you rule in favor of Trump and the DOJ to destroy this, there hasn't been any opposition because Trump and the DOJ are now both the bad guys. So there needs to be some just stay the destruction of the documents in the report. So at least the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals can weigh in, because even though the 11th Circuit tends to skew more conservative, more right-leaning, nobody would say destroy these records. But what happens if the district court orders the immediate burning and destruction? The DOJ has it. So imagine you have Cannon issues an order, and immediately the DOJ is ready to hit delete. They destroy it. And then when the 11th Circuit finally says, actually, we want to intervene here, then the DOJ says, it's moot. We just followed the judge's order and we hit destroy right away. So this is an extraordinary petition, where as a law professor, this intrigues me, and as someone who cares about our country and transparency, it's critical. But you don't see things like this ever filed. So when I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is an interesting argument, because this never had to be done. Normally, the DOJ would be the one saying, release it. Of course, release it. That's what the law requires you to do. So here, this group they do great work, the First Amendment Institute at Columbia University. They've said, look, we reached out to Judge Cannon. She's ignoring our petition to intervene. So we haven't got a ruling there. She's doing the canon. And we're really worried that what's about to happen, 11th Circuit, is she's going to make this order, destroy the records, destroy the documents. And so we want to put this on your radar. And I think what they want to do via this mandamus process, which again is extraordinary, and there's like not a lot of precedent for even doing something like this. But I think what they want to at least put on the 11th Circuit's radar is for them, even sua sponte, meaning on their own initiative, take the extraordinary relief and just say something like, even though you may not have standing right now, hey, Judge Cannon, don't destroy. It's our understanding that any destruction would be illegal. Like, get the 11th Circuit to do something here, put it on their radar, and hope they say something. Because it's a tough argument to appeal something where your petition has not been ruled on yet, because what's the basis of appellate jurisdiction when the underlying judge hasn't yet ruled? But here, they're saying Judge Cannon's doing this intentionally as part of a scheme with Trump, and that's why you were involved before 11th Circuit. Do something. Harry, this is quite extraordinary. Let's call in Harry Littman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds podcast, and Talking Feds Substack. Right, Harry? This is, an extraordinary thing, and I think it's the right move. I think we can debate whether they have standing to make this appeal. And that's it. But the 11th Circuit, hello, 11th Circuit, you got to do something here.
Look, the whole thing is a farce, and it's part of the farces that they mount every day because, as you say, the V point that you raised, Ben, is the big one. This is constitutional. You have to have the whole way that our judicial system works is adversaries go on either side of an argument and make it concrete and make it precise and do their best so a court can rule. This is just like the Trump supposed lawsuit for $230 million or $40 billion. Why not? Because of the prosecutions he had before, just like the Steve Bannon complete whitewash where they're.
All right, y'all. So as you can see, they're giving us a bit of a breakdown of what is going on, with Judge Cannon trying to delete these files. We do have a lot of videos in this live. So for some of these, I'm going to just play half so we can get just an introduction as to what is being talked about. And if y'all want to watch the full thing entirely, head over to the channel and click on that video. I'll put the links in my description box after this if y'all want to watch that to, the very end. But just to get through all of the videos today, for some of them that are a little bit lengthier, I'm just going to play like halfway through and then we'll move forward with the next topic. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on, to the next topic. And we got to talk about the Trump economy, a rude awakening, okay? So despite this big, beautiful bill that they've been talking about and promoting, and promises of blue-collar rival, BLS data from early 2026 shows that manufacturing and mining industries have lost nearly 166,000 jobs over the last year. While the administration claims 41% growth in factory construction, real-world data shows 76% of new job growth is reversed for degree holders, leaving Trump's working class base in the dust. And so let's go ahead and listen to a little bit of this report, y'all, because a lot of people are actually out of work, losing jobs, unable to get jobs, despite the fact that we would see this Trump and this administration sit up here and swear on everything that this is the best economy ever. It's not. And I think many of us can attest to that as well. We're seeing as we go into grocery stores and stuff now, prices are going up, are up extremely high. Bills are even going up as far as electricity and water. This is not a great economy. This is all lies and gaslighting. But anyway, we're going to go ahead over here and listen to this video. Let me get this set up real quick, y'all, and we'll get a full breakdown as far as what's going on, because I think this is important for us to pay attention to so we can still remain staying in the truth. They will lie, they will push their narratives as they always do, but the people are struggling and the voices of the people is what matters most. So let's get into this. This is just about 9 minutes and 45 seconds, y'all. So we will play this one all the way through and then we'll move on to the next topic. I'll meet y'all in the comments per usual, okay? So let's go ahead and get into it.
The state of the US economy here in early 2026 is defined less by strength than by contradiction. Official headlines proclaim job growth, falling unemployment, and record-breaking stock markets. Donald Trump and his allies amplify these signals, insisting that America is richer than ever before, sharing identical but false talking points amongst allies.
President Trump is the quintessential optimist, which is the mark of a great leader. When I asked him in our White House interview if he could beat history in the midterm elections and keep the House and Senate in Republican hands, he said yes. In fact, he said he was going to change history by winning the midterms. And he reiterated that we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and he would do his best to get the word out on what he called the greatest economy in history.
But beneath the surface of those claims lies a far more uneven reality. Wealth is soaring at the very top, particularly among billionaires and technology investors, while working people face stagnant wages, rising living costs, and an increasingly fragile labor market. Today's jobs report only sharpens the sense that the public story and the lived experience of millions of Americans are drifting further apart. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that employers added 130,000 jobs in January, bringing the unemployment rate down to 4.3%. On paper, that sounds solid, but the same report included sweeping revisions to prior data that dramatically changed the picture. Last year's total job gains were slashed by more than 400,000 positions, leaving just 181,000 jobs added for the entire year, 69% fewer than initially estimated. In total, the economy now has more than 1 million fewer jobs than previously reported over the past 2 years. Trump is purposely fudging the numbers, and patriotic Americans are quietly living off their credit cards. Such revisions are part of a long-standing annual reconciliation process as survey-based estimates are adjusted to reflect more complete state-level data. Still, the scale of the corrections is striking. A labor market once described as resilient and robust now appears far weaker. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell previously acknowledged that labor data had been distorted, at one point suggesting that job creation may have been overstated by tens of thousands each month. Government shutdowns and delayed reporting have further clouded the picture. When a regime tightly controls the release and framing of economic statistics, skepticism about the headline numbers is inevitable, even when the statistical agencies themselves operate with established procedures. More troubling than the revisions are the structural signals embedded in the data. January's gains were heavily concentrated in healthcare and social assistance, which together accounted for the majority of new jobs. Construction and professional services also saw increases, but retail, trade, and leisure and hospitality, sectors that employ millions of lower and middle-income workers, barely budged. Federal government and financial sector employment declined. This is not broad-based prosperity. It is narrow growth in essential or specialized areas. Meanwhile, layoffs surged. Consulting firm challenger Gray & Christmas reported more than 108,000 job cuts in January, the highest January total since the depths of the Great Recession in 2009. That figure represents a 118% increase from a year earlier. Contract losses, market conditions, and restructuring drove much of the bloodletting. Major corporations led the way. UPS announced plans to cut 30,000 jobs this year after eliminating tens of thousands previously, while Amazon revealed another round of corporate layoffs as it reshapes its business model. Even more telling is the collapse in hiring plans. Employers announced intentions to fill just over 5,000 jobs in January, the fewest for any month since tracking began in 2009. Economists describe the current environment as low hire, low fire. Workers who have jobs are clinging to them, hesitant to switch employers amid uncertainty. Those who are laid off face a shrinking pool of opportunities. The unemployment rate may remain relatively low for now, but the churn that typically allows workers to advance into better-paying roles has slowed dramatically. Against this backdrop, Trump's insistence that America is richer than ever rings hollow for most households. It is true that aggregate wealth has climbed, stock markets are hitting all-time highs, corporate profits remain strong. Billionaires, particularly those tied to technology and finance, have seen their net worth swell. But aggregate wealth is not the same as broadly shared prosperity. For working Americans, wages have struggled to keep pace with the cost of living. Inflation has cooled from its peak, but remains above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. Housing costs remain elevated, groceries are more expensive than they were 2 years ago, and interest rates kept high to tame inflation have made mortgages, credit cards, and car loans more burdensome. Even modest price increases compound over time, squeezing households whose paychecks have barely moved. The gap between financial markets and Main Street reflects where investment is flowing. The dominant story of the past year has not been a renaissance of manufacturing employment or a boom in small business hiring. Instead, capital has poured into artificial intelligence, automation, and data centers. AI alone was cited as the reason for thousands of job cuts in January. Companies increasingly advertise AI tools as replacements for human labor in customer service, coding, marketing, and logistics. Data centers, massive energy-hungry facilities that power AI models and cloud computing, have become the infrastructure backbone of this investment wave. They require substantial capital expenditure and create some construction and engineering jobs in the short term, but once built, they employ relatively few workers compared to traditional industries. The returns accrue largely to shareholders and technology executives, not to a broad workforce. This shift compounds inequality in two ways. First, it directs investment towards capital-intensive sectors that generate high profits with minimal labor input. Second, it accelerates automation in white-collar and service roles, once thought insulated from technological displacement. When companies can cut thousands of jobs and cite AI as justification, the bargaining power of workers weakens. Fear of replacement discourages wage demands and job mobility. The result is an economy that appears strong in aggregate indicators, but brittle underneath. Unemployment remains low by historical standards, yet hiring has nearly stalled. Wealth is at record highs, yet it is concentrated among those who own appreciating assets, stocks, tech firms, real estate, not among wage earners. Official data shows job growth, yet revisions reveal that previous optimism was overstated. None of this means the United States is in a recession. Consumer spending continues, and certain sectors, especially healthcare, are expanding. Huge profits for industries that shouldn't be profitable at all. But the narrative of paralleled prosperity obscures a more nuanced truth. The country may be richer on paper, but that richness is unevenly distributed and increasingly tied to capital rather than labor. If policymakers and political leaders continue to celebrate stock indices while ignoring wage stagnation and labor market fragility, they risk deepening public disillusionment. Economic health cannot be measured solely by the net worth of billionaires or the market capitalization of AI firms. It must also be judged on whether ordinary workers can find stable jobs, switch employers for better pay, and afford the essentials of daily life without accumulating debt. Today's jobs report, with its headline gains and sobering revisions, captures the paradox. For millions of working people confronting stagnant wages and rising costs, the promise of that wealth remains out of reach. Trump and his friends are undoubtedly richer than ever. But for everyone else, not least those hiding from ICE abductions, making a living is tougher than ever. In some cases, people are cold and hungry, and increasingly desperate, and unseen by the Trump regime. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5-Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.
Love this video.
All right, y'all. So I thought that report would be very important to share. And we do have a little bit of additional report that's going to be from a news sector and report about these ex-federal workers. Okay, we're going to be talking about them as well. But before we get into that, I did want to go ahead and just give y'all some information on here when it comes to survival guide on how to cut corners and protect your finances. Now, for those of us who may have not grown up, in the best cities and neighborhoods or predicaments, we've known about these type of things for a long time. Some people, it may be, new as far as what you may be experiencing or going through. But one thing we always know is that we are resilient people and we always can find a way to make it through. So in an economy where real data is lagging behind the official hype, taking personal control of your cash flow is the only way to ensure a soft landing. First and foremost, you want to audit your ghost expenses, the subscription code. We often pay for convenience that we don't even use. Audit your bank statements for every automated monthly charge. If you haven't used a service in 30 days, cancel it. You can also go and do insurance-free shopping. With the delegation shifts, the insurance market is volatile. Spend 30 minutes every 6 months calling competitors to lower your premiums on auto and possibly home insurance. Also, when you go to the grocery store, you want to do tactical grocery shopping. The unit price rule. Stop looking at the total price. Look at the small price per ounce or per unit on the shelf tag. Often, the mid-size items are cheaper than the bulk item due to hidden marketing markups. Loss leaders. Learn which items your local store sells at a loss to get you in the door, usually eggs, milk, or rotisserie chickens. Buy those there and get everything else at a discount warehouse. Energy independence, the phantom load. Electronics like TVs, computers, and kitchen appliances draw power even when turned off. Use power strips and flip the switch when you leave the house to save 5 to 10% on your monthly electric bill. Thermal control. If you're in a cold climate, use draft stoppers at the base of your doors. Keeping your thermostat just 2 degrees lower in winter can reduce your heating bill by nearly 10%. Upskilling for the new data reality. Certify, don't just degree. Since the growth is in technical fields, don't go back for a 4-year degree. Look for 3-month certifications in high demanded areas like project management, logistics, and guess what now, y'all? AI auditing. And the side hustle, child. Y'all know we know about a good side hustle. With the administration sending out fake lists of stability, you can create your own. Diversify your income so that a single layoff doesn't sink your entire ship. So if you have a skill, something that you do well, something that you create, you can come up with a side hustle and be able to use that for income. Community bartering, something that it seems like we may be going back to, which just solidifies the fact for me that, I don't know if that's the plan or not, to take us back to the past, but it's not to say that that's a bad thing. Instead of paying for a mechanic or a plumber, see if you can trade a skill that you have, like tutoring, landscaping, or tax preparation, with someone in your local community. In a reckoning economy, social capital is often more stable than a dollar. So sometimes you can trade services with each other. That's just a few tips that I came up with that I wanted to read off to you guys. So now we're going to go ahead and get into our next video here. And we'll be talking about the federal ex-workers. They're seeking the office to stand up Trump amid his grave threat to America. So let's go ahead and get into this report. It's very short. This is from MS Now. It's about 7 minutes and 13 seconds. Let me go ahead and get this up on the screen for you guys. Give me just a second. The StreamYard is moving a little bit slow today. All right, y'all, it's loading. I'm about to put it up here. Give me just a second. But as far as these ex-federal workers that are seeking office, fired or resigned employees from the DOJ, FBI, and USAID displaced by the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, cuts are launching. Guardians of Democracy campaigns for Congress. They are positioning themselves as the ultimate insiders who know exactly where the so-called bodies are buried within the federal agencies. Let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all, and hear a little bit about what is going on truly.
President Trump's attacks on the federal workforce, along with some of his most extreme policies, have motivated a number of former civil servants to step into the political arena. J.P. Cooney, a former top deputy to Jack Smith and a veteran of the Public Corruption Division of the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Washington, is running as a Democrat for Virginia's newly proposed 7th congressional district seat. He told the New York Times the biggest catalyst for his decision to run was the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy by federal agents in Minneapolis. Over in Kentucky, Zach Dimbo, a former Justice Department prosecutor, is running as a Democrat for the 6th congressional district seat. He called the Trump administration's hostility toward the men and women he knew at the DOJ and FBI, quote, unpatriotic. And Trina Swanson, who formerly worked at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, threw her hat in the ring for Minnesota's 8th congressional district seat. She told The Times that voters are increasingly asking questions about immigration policy at town halls and community events. All three of them join us now. Thank you three for joining us. I told you during the break, Zach, you're not here, so I would running for office is crazy. So congratulations all of you for jumping in. It seems like a terrible job to be in Congress. Trina, I want to start with you because immigration is, and more importantly, the way that ICE is operating within the borders of this country is at the top of a lot of conversations, right? And it's been at the top of our conversations for a long time, but it feels like it's bleeding into the rest of the zeitgeist. One, I want to look at this Minnesota Star Tribune poll. The tactics by ICE officers and Border Patrol agents have what? Gone too far, 66%, not gone far enough, 10%, been about right, 23%. When you're hearing from people and you're talking to them about what they're seeing, obviously there's the 2 shootings and killings in Minnesota, but when they're talking about the way that they're operating within the country writ large, what are they telling you?
So I was a government official for 2 decades in immigration. There's a right way to do immigration and a wrong way. I'm hearing that it's happening the wrong way. It's breeding chaos on our streets. They are using small children to lure out their parents. They're going after American citizens for blowing whistles and honking horns and murdering people. So the people of the 8th District in Minnesota are concerned about that. They are hearing that 4,000 people were arrested, yet we have less than 14% that were actually violent criminals, spending tens of millions of dollars that instead could have gone towards education, healthcare, and our affordability crisis. People are upset. I'm really proud of my Minnesota neighbors. They're doing great work standing up to this administration and the chaos. This isn't leadership. This is chaos.
When you, as someone who worked on immigration for so long in this country, are these tactics new? Because when I talk to Andrea Flores, who has worked on immigration for a really long time and comes on our show a lot, and other people within the immigration advocacy and activist space, what they say is, ICE and CBP have been doing this for a really long time. We just haven't been paying attention. Has it changed or are our eyes just opening now?
This is Trump's ICE and CBP. So ICE and CBP have always had enforcement roles, but they've been taken away from investigating child trafficking and pornography and instead diverting all those attentions to detaining people that actually have pending applications that are here legally, that are doing it the right way. And particularly in USCIS, I manage those officers in Minneapolis. We always looked at national security. We looked at threats to our border. We looked at threats to our people. We decided that only those that were eligible got the benefits, and we worked hard to ensure that. Now they're looking at applications that were already adjudicated under Biden and re-adjudicating them. They're vilifying people so that they're drawing attention away from affordability and the other issues in this country.
Zach, they're in Kentucky. What are the issues that you're hearing about as you're on the campaign trail? We've been talking a lot about immigration, but there's, last I heard, also an affordability crisis. There's a jobs crisis. There are a lot of things that have potential voters upset. So what are you hearing?
Yeah, Jonathan, look, you're hitting on exactly what I'm hearing, which is all sorts of folks here in Kentucky, including some who voted for President Trump, did so based on his promise of lower prices on day one. And obviously that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing things getting harder and harder for Central Kentuckians. And I should add, when we're talking about the tariffs, which are basically just taxes, it's hitting us especially hard here. Things like bourbon, which, as you all know, Canada has not had on their shelves in a long time. Horses are subject to tariffs. Fun fact I've learned on the campaign trail. And meanwhile, the largest Toyota manufacturing plant in the world is in my district, and they announced a $10 billion loss. Just like we've been hearing for a while, it's affordability. That's what people are worried about, and that's one of the things that this Republican Congress is making worse and worse.
JP, I want to dig a little bit more into the why you are doing this, because we all saw your former boss testify before Congress, and he spoke actually fairly emotionally about how disruptive it was and has been for his life and the life of you and all of the lawyers and people who served on the special counsel's team to pursue these prosecutions against Trump and the threats it's caused to your safety. Why, after two extremely stressful and I use the word almost traumatic years of pursuing that, are you now throwing yourself into this?
Because the threat to the American people, to Virginians, posed by this president has never been more grave in our country's history. A direct threat to democracy, to the rule of law, to the ability of hardworking Americans who play by the rules to ensure a better future for their children. And right alongside of that, we have a United States Congress, a Republican-controlled majority that is complicit in this president's lawlessness, his abuse of authority. In a circumstance like that, I felt it imperative, with my 18 years of prosecutorial experience, standing up to the most powerful lawbreakers, including the president of the United States, Donald Trump, I felt I had to get in this to provide some hope, some leadership, and some principled courage to turn the tide.
All right, y'all. So that was a report on, these federal workers and exactly what the experiences that they're going through is, and what the truth of the matter is within this economy and under this Trump, administration, which a lot of time, like we said, it gasses it up. He gasses it up to make it seem like it's way better than what it is. But the people are the ones who know the truth. The people are the ones that's going to bring that information to you, because it's not what it's cracked up to be. And I think we all can understand that, and we see a bit of that in all of our lives. So we just want to pay attention to that. It's very important, y'all. So I like to bring some of these pieces of information to the lives and stuff, so we can just have an open conversation about it and get some information updates as to what is really going on. But now we're going to go ahead and get into our next subject. And the next topic we're going to be talking about is Trump's fake lists and the administration collapse, because we do see that the administration, despite the lies and trying to hold themselves together by the seams, things are coming crashing down. So amidst reports of cabinet infighting, the president released a list of 2026 achievements, including a claim that he extinguished 8 wars. Fact checkers immediately debunked the list as highly speculative and largely fabricated. This is being seen as a flood the zone tactic to distract the public from the sagging economic numbers and the Epstein revelations. So we're going to go ahead and get into some of those reports, and we'll hear exactly how these people are talking, the lies that they tell and how those lies are being debunked. So give me just 2 seconds, y'all. We'll take a quick song break, and after that song break, we'll get right into that video, okay? We'll be right back.
On the bill is looking faded and frayed. The fourth estate is corporate owned and heavily paid. They're trading in the facts for a narrative fabricated. If you leak the truth, you get deleted and degraded. Look, the teleprompter's glowing with the scripted out deception, a digital infection to manipulate perception. They steer the conversation in a singular direction, while the First Amendment's dying with no hope of resurrection. It's a manufactured crisis, yeah, they're selling us the fear, whispering the lies until it's all the people here. They call it fact checking just to keep the vision blurry, while they bury every whistleblower in a frantic hurry. Silence in the streets, silence in the booth, a total moratorium on anyone with truth. They're tearing out the pages, yeah, they're burning down the fence. A war against the people and against our common sense. It's the sound of the silent, it's heavy and it's cold. It's the sound of violence. It's heavy and it's cold. Check the independent outlets, yeah, they're catching all the heat. The ones who skip the press release and actually hit the beat. But the algorithms weaponize, the reach is getting throttled. The spirit of the journalist is suffocated bottle. They shadow ban the brave and they platform the fake. It's a psychological game with the highest of stakes. If you don't toe the line, then they label you a threat. Putting filters on your mouth like a suffocating net. They claim they're stopping harm, but they're only stopping thought. Democracy is auctioned and the airwaves have been bought. The gatekeepers are frantic, they're losing their control. So they're trying to put a padlock on the collective soul. They're cutting the wires, they're pulling the plugs, treating the seekers of truth like the thugs. From the boardrooms to the courtrooms, the pressure is rising. The death of the discourse of what they're devising. The spark in the dark is a beautiful thing. Let the bells of the rebels and dissidents ring. Of peace if the cost is your tongue. The songs of the ancestors are waiting to be sung. They want us quiet, compliant, and staring at the floor while they're locking up the exits and they're bolting every door. But the truth is a frequency they can't fully jam. I'm a man with a mind, I'm not a ghost in their program. No more silence. The loudest thing in the world is the truth they try to hide. Keep the mic on, keep the eyes open.
Donald Trump is absolutely losing it as the Epstein Files continue to expose him and his regime. And so he had his Department of Justice release basically a bogus list, which they call, this is the politically exposed list of people who are in the Epstein Files. And so they try to bury Donald Trump's name, which of course is on the list, with a bunch of other people. And they're doing it in a way to kind of just give the middle finger to the entire investigation into the child sex trafficking, and give the middle finger to the entire survivor community. And I don't say this lightly, but look at who the people they're listing as politically exposed. The Pope John Paul II, late Pope. They have Elvis Presley on there. They have Janis Joplin, who died in 1970. Marilyn Monroe is on there. And they're saying these are the politically exposed people who were involved in the Epstein list. Then you look through it and you have people like Todd Blanche and Donald Trump's name. But that's how they think they're being clever, by including all those people together. I mean, it's just so utterly despicable. And by the way, even Marjorie Taylor Greene's I'm all over the lists and the emails. And she's like, I wasn't even a member of Congress, until after Epstein, died. And so you're putting me on the list. And so, it just seems to be what the Trump regime is doing. We got the scoop first here on the Midas Touch Network. Aaron Parnas reported the Department of Justice has sent over a letter to Congress outlining, or supposed to outline, why it made the redactions to the Epstein Files. It's a 6-page letter that then includes the list of politically exposed persons, and it's Elvis, Pope John Paul II, Marilyn Monroe, Janis Joplin, people like that. As Democratic Congress member Ro Khanna writes, the DOJ is once again purposefully muddying the waters on who was a predator and who was mentioned in an email. To have Janis Joplin, who died when Epstein was 17, in the same list as Larry Nassar, who went to prison for the sexual abuse of hundreds of young women and child pornography, with no clarification of how either was mentioned in the files, is absurd. Release the whole files, stop protecting predators, redact only the survivor's name, and produce what's called a privilege log. Yes, it's going to be very difficult for you to make a privilege log. It isn't easy. Back in the day when I was a litigator, I would do it on all of my cases. It's a spreadsheet. It may be thousands of pages, tens of thousands of pages, or hundreds of thousands of pages, where you go through each. This is what you're supposed to do in every case. You list the document number. We call it a Bates number. Those are those numbers on the bottom right of the document. And if you're withholding any information, you then on the spreadsheet assert what privilege or claim you're making for purposes of withholding that document. And then you give a little bit of a description of why you're withholding the document. Obviously, your description can't be too specific if you're rightfully withholding it on the basis of a privilege, but you're supposed to give a little description. And then if someone wants to challenge it, they look at your privilege log, they bring it to a court, and then they're able to challenge it. But here, the Trump DOJ is also claiming no judges can enforce the Epstein Transparency Act. So they're the only people who can enforce it. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene going on more right-wing podcasts. I mean, she's furious about what's taking place. And she said, look, I want everybody to know that the person who's fighting the release and who has fought the release of the Epstein files the hardest, she says, is Donald Trump. She's like, you may not want to hear that because she's on a right-wing podcast. She goes, that's the truth. It's coming from Trump. That's who wants to block this. And I think it's obvious why. Listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene has to say in her own words. Here, play this clip.
Pam Bondi, she serves at the pleasure of the president and his administration, and those there are telling her, here's who you can prosecute. No, don't do this. I mean, they told her that the Epstein files, that fight to release the Epstein files came directly from President Trump. And I know a lot of people have a hard time with that, but that is the truth. He fought the hardest to stop these files from being released. And the only reason that he signed our bill that we passed in the House was because he had to.
And then she says that the biggest miscalculation Donald Trump ever did was calling the Epstein files a hoax. Here, play this clip.
It became a massive political problem. Biggest political miscalculation in Donald Trump's career was calling this a hoax, fighting the release of it, and having Mike Johnson, the speaker, refuse to bring the bill to the floor, to the point where Thomas Massie, myself, Nancy Mason, Lauren Boebert actually had to vote with all of the Democrats to get it released, to get it.
You know, I don't, where I will disagree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on mostly everything. It wasn't that Trump miscalculated it. It's that he's demented and he's a predator. And so he's spewing and saying things that predators say. And so for Trump, he just thinks that, you know, he gets to say, this is like Russia, 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 Russia. And he goes, it's a hoax, Russia, 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 Russia. And it's like all of the things that Donald Trump claims are hoaxes are not hoaxes. Okay. They're the reality, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I hate to, you know, remember the movie at the end, Sixth Sense, where it's like, I see dead people, because, you know, he's dead the whole time. Now, sorry if I ruined the ending for everybody. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm ruining the ending for you right now. Everything he says is a hoax. He's really the one who's behind all of this criminality. I mean, right. Russia, Russia, Russia is a hoax. You have a photo of you and Vladimir Putin in the West Wing above the photo of you and your grandchild. I mean, you invited Putin to Alaska, you know, several months ago, and you rolled out the red carpet and made our troops bend down on their knees and literally kiss Putin's feet. It was like one of the most disgusting things. You're trying to do fake $12 trillion deals with Putin. You're being called out for it at the Munich Security Conference right now. Like, you know, Russia, 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 Donald. I mean, so utterly pathetic. During the E. Jean Carroll case, where Donald Trump was found liable for sexual assault by a federal jury, you had Roberta Kaplan, the lawyer. She cross-examined Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump, at the end of the deposition, said, see you on Tuesday or something. He spelled out the horrific C word to refer to the female lawyer. But the reason I want to bring this up is she had a great line of questioning where she said, so you claim 2020 election is a hoax, right? You say you believe you win. That's a hoax. You claim that when you were accused of sexually assaulting my client, E. Jean Carroll, that's a hoax, right? He goes, that's a hoax. So you claim that Russia collusion is a hoax, right? You claim all these things are hoaxes, right? It was a very strong line of questioning. I'll just show you two right-wing podcaster, Tim Dillon. Here's what he had to say the other day about Pam Bondi. Let's play it.
Pam Bondi, you got to remember, Pam Bondi is from Florida. She was, I believe, the Attorney General of the state of Florida. She's way in over her head. I feel bad for her. She's like a real housewife. She's not supposed to be doing this. They all get in there and they all think, they all go, oh, we're gonna, justice is here. The Avengers are here. Her and Cash and Bongino. He's already back to podcasting. It's in under a year. She has no idea what's going on. She gets in there and these people are all unprepared. They're all unprepared for what is about to happen. They don't know. She doesn't know what's about to happen. She has no idea. And then they're given a choice. They're like, you're involved now in this cover-up. This is you. This is on you. You're in it with us. Kesh Patel's in it because he's like probably being, he's another one's being handled. He's another one's being either controlled to some degree. He's lying. He knows.
Just turning to a moment to what's going on in the Munich Security Conference, because, here in the United States, as you have, the Trump regime engaging in the most heinous cover-up of a child sex trafficking. Now, just think about how serious this is. Just pull back for a second, right? How important is it for all of us that the Epstein list be released, right? And so what the Trump regime does is they put out a fake list that has the names of Marilyn Monroe and Janis Joplin and the Pope and people like that. That's how demented and sick these are. And they try to mix it with people who are actually involved. So, we don't know. And then not only that, but then they don't include a lot of people who are actually involved as well. That's what our demented, failed, ridiculous regime is doing here. But, look abroad when they try to bring their talking points to Munich. Look, you have Kaja Kallas. She's the main foreign policy chief for the European Union. Just watch her trying to hold in her laughter as she watches Mike Waltz, Donald Trump's secretary, Donald Trump's ambassador to the United Nations, as he's like, we stopped 8 wars. Donald Trump is a peace president. We did 8 wars. The world leaders are actually laughing in the face of the American representatives in Munich. Here, play this clip.
Why hasn't the UN been able to resolve issues like a border dispute between Cambodia and Thailand, or Azerbaijan, Armenia, or we could walk around the world, or Kashmir and India and Pakistan, where we faced a very serious nuclear escalation. So what I'm hearing outside of forums like this privately is thank you for American leadership. America has to lead. If we have to have more focused plurilateral or focused multilateral organizations to do so, I think that should be perfectly acceptable if we're getting the results that results in peace and security.
Then you have Republican Senator Tom Tillis from North Carolina with Senator Shaheen as well. And, they're out there. And here's what Republican Tom Tillis had to say. Here, play this clip.
I've heard it said by someone that who gives a shit about who owns Greenland. The 55,000 indigenous people of Greenland give a shit about who owns Greenland. And at the end of the day, we need to show them respect. And we need to understand the fiscal reality that we don't have to pay a dime to project power in the Arctic with our partners like Canada, who will bring the icebreakers to clear the channels to get there, and some of the Scandinavian partners who are the true Arctic experts, along with some of our Alaskan military personnel.
Very forceful right there. And speaking of Greenland, then we heard from the Prime Minister of Greenland, Jens.
Hey, Kim, what's going on? But yeah, y'all, this is the wow, how the truth is coming out. And the ridiculousness of how they just try to lie. Just like Ivana was saying, they try to say Marilyn Monroe was in there. She was a little girl, but child, the lies just keep coming out. We can't make this stuff up. We can't make it up. But like you were saying, Kim, I believe all of this is a distraction, of course, to distract away from who really was there, who really did, what they did, and needs to be held accountable. It's really a joke. They're trying to send people down a rabbit hole. They're trying to shock jock people and say, oh, this person is involved, this person's involved. When really it's these main people that are making these distractions. They're the ones that was there and involved. So it's just like they think that we are stupid. We're not dumb people. Like, y'all cannot just lie to our face like this. You said Ben was talking about one Ivana retracted charges against Trump. I believe her. I remember when that happened. I was alive then. Yep. Exactly. Oh boy. Well, I'm glad the truth is finally being told, and hopefully some of these survivors or / victims, I know they sometimes don't like to be called victims, but survivors of these traumas and these terrible, terrible things, they get the justice. But let's keep finishing this up. After this video is done, y'all, we're gonna get into just a little bit. I can't play all of it, but we'll play a little bit of the audio of when Barack Obama sat down with hold on, y'all. Let me not get the name wrong, child. Brian Tyler Cohen, okay? And he was talking with him about, those photos that was released from Trump depicting Obama and Michelle Obama as apes. So we'll be getting into some of that audio next. And then at the very end, y'all, I got us a little bit of, comedy and stuff as well. However, we're going to be talking about how, it was a lot of disgusting stuff happening yesterday on Valentine's Day, wrapped around racism. And Reese Waters is going to report on some of that. So those are the last two things we'll be getting into after we conclude this video here with Ben. So let me go ahead and keep playing this. I'm going to meet y'all over in the chat.
Frederick Nielsen, here's what he had to say. Let's play it.
It's not only about Greenland. Imagine a NATO country acquiring, taking, threatening an ally. Where would the world stand if that happened? We would be a puzzle. We would be a puzzle in a big game. And what would prevent those America, if they did that, USA and Russia and China, to split up the world in three big blocks if this was allowed? It's outrageous. And I don't think we can lower shoulders either. I think we have to take some steps.
We also heard from the leader in Spain right now, Pedro Sanchez. Here's what he had to say about the fact that America is going to be spending $1 trillion on rebuilding or building up their nuclear arsenal, when that amount of money could literally stop global poverty. Play this clip.
But now the tide is turning. Nuclear powers have forgotten the lessons of the past, and they are expanding their nuclear arsenals once again. Together, they are spending more than $11 million every single hour on them. And experts estimate that the US alone will invest $946 billion in nukes over the next decade, enough to eradicate extreme global poverty.
And then two more points I want to make of what's going on abroad. You have former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton calling out Donald Trump for betraying the West. Here's what she had to say.
So do you think he has destroyed the West, to go to our title?
He has betrayed the West. He's betrayed human values. He's betrayed the NATO Charter, the Atlantic Charter, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. A lot of what has been done before to try to make sense of how difficult it is to restrain people who want unaccountable power. And none of us in this room, including all of us on this panel, would choose to live under a regime that was so unaccountable that it could act with impunity the way that Putin does, except that's who Trump is modeling himself
I don't think we would.
And then you had Governor Newsom out there as well talking about MAGA. Let's play this clip.
Temporary. It's temporary. MAGA will not survive past Donald Trump. He's a cult of personality. I said invasive species. Some of you may not know what the hell I'm talking about. But he took over this Republican Party. You made the point. That old Republican Party, some of them are here. I mean, none of us recognize them. They don't recognize themselves. They don't recognize themselves. I mean, Rubio doesn't recognize himself. He was one of the most effective critics of Donald Trump in the United States of America.
Yeah.
He should rewatch his old videos. He was right. Lindsey Graham was right. This is temporary.
Thought this was important as the United States is making, or the Trump regime is making up fake lists. Here's what's going on in France. French prosecutors announced special team for Epstein Files. The Paris prosecutor's office on Saturday announced it was setting up a special team of magistrates to analyze evidence that could implicate French nationals. They're running their own independent investigation right now. And it should be noted, one of Epstein's closest friends who was involved in the sex trafficking ring, who was also friends with Trump, is a guy by the name of Jean-Luc Brunel, who was involved the same way Trump and Epstein and all these guys were involved in modeling agencies. Jean-Luc Brunel had his modeling agency. And guess what happened to Jean-Luc Brunel? If you guessed, died by alleged suicide in a prison. That's what, all these people die by alleged suicides in prison. Died in 2022. And now they're reopening the investigation into that in France. But here in the United States, like, you know about Lutnick, and you know about Phelan, the Navy secretary, and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. I mean, I go on and on. I mean, all the people closest to Trump. What's his name? Dr. Oz inviting Epstein to a Valentine's Day party, going to the same party. RFK hanging out with Epstein. Ridiculous. But also you have Tom Barrack. You remember this guy, Tom Barrack? He's one of the top U.S. diplomats right now, that's out there. In August 2011, Barrack emailed Epstein and said, "Just saw Sultan, who likes you a lot. I told him you're the best, that you're a first-class brain inside of a first-class human being. Miss you." That's what Tom Barrack wrote to Epstein in 2011. The exchanges include invitations to private residences, introductions to diplomats. They also show Epstein repeatedly encouraged Barrack to move communications to encrypted messaging apps, records of which are not part of the government release. And Barrack right now, senior position, top ambassador in the United States, one of the more influential people in our government right now. And they're all part of this thing. They're all in it. They're all in it. It's right there in black and white. I mean, that's not disqualifying right there. The Sultan who sent the torture videos to Epstein. They said they like the torture videos of the girls. What the hell is going on anyway? Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million and have a good one, everybody.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today.
All right, y'all. So that concludes some of the videos from Ben Masilas. I know a lot of y'all here, y'all already know who he is on the Modest Touch Network. But if you don't, y'all should head over and check him out. Subscribe to the channel, get a membership over there like I have. Really great content, and Ben be going in. He is not playing no games with them. He is keeping it all the way real and giving us the information that we so desperately need, which is AKA the truth. And so I love watching platforms like this. But we're going to go ahead and get into the next video from yet another truth teller and seeker as well. We're going to be listening to some audio this time of Barack Obama having a great conversation with Brian Tyler Cohen. I also love his content and his channel a lot as well. So if y'all have not checked him out, please go over and check him out, y'all. And he's on every social media platform But yes, this is his YouTube channel. We'll be listening to some of this audio from y'all. And it was a really great conversation. You're going to be talking about that 8 video. He's going to be talking about Bad Bunny's performance at the Super Bowl halftime show and how impertinent that was for the Hispanic community. And he's also going to be talking about some of the 2028 predictions that he has, or he feels as though what may come with the next election. So we're going to get into that in just a moment, y'all. Let me just take a really quick song break. I got to do it like this, and I will be right back, and then we'll get straight into that video.
Stood up tall for the oath they swore to give their all. They spoke of orders, lawful and true. A clear message meant for me and you. But the air grew cold and the line was crossed. A furious price at any cost. A simple warning, clear and bright. Met with a fury late one night. The headline screams, chilling sound. Political peace is nowhere found. Punishable by death. The message read, a fire lit under every head. Oppose the pain. Now caught in the heat of a social rage. Caught in the heat of a social rage. Call this edition on a digital stage. Turning the Constitution's page. He reposted words dark and profane, inviting the crowd to call for the change. Bubbles that said, hang them. History's grim call. Put a target on the Capitol wall. In the heat of social rage. And truth turns to lies. We see the danger reflected in their eyes. This isn't rhetoric, it's a terrifying shift. A line we can't let simply drift.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into some of this conversation with Brian and Barack Obama, y'all. I'm gonna meet y'all in the chat as we listen together. This was an excellent conversation and interview. The entire thing is about 47 minutes and 37 seconds. I can't play all of it. I'm gonna try to play like halfway through, but y'all might have already heard it, or if you haven't, you gotta head over there and listen to the full thing. And then after we're done with this one, we'll get into Reese Waters' video. We'll end with a little comedy on today's live. But let's go ahead and get right into it, y'all. I'll see y'all in the chat.
It is my honor to be joined by the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. Mr. President, thanks so much for joining me.
It is wonderful to be here, Brian. Thank you for having me.
So as you know, better than anybody, the discourse has devolved into a level of cruelty that we haven't seen before. What was disqualifying just a few years ago now not only feels fine, acceptable, but actually rewarded. You have administration officials saying that the victims of ISIS aggression are domestic terrorists. You have J.D. Vance coming out and saying that it's okay. You don't have to apologize for being white. Just days ago, Donald Trump put a picture of your face on an ape's body. And so again, this is kind of, we've seen the de-evolution of the discourse. How do we come back from a place that we have fallen into?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to recognize that the majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling. It is true that it gets attention. It's true that it's a distraction. But, as I'm traveling around the country, as you're traveling around the country, you meet people. They still believe in decency, courtesy, kindness, and there's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost. But the reason I point out that I don't think the majority of the American people approve of this is because ultimately the answer is going to come from the American people. And we just saw this in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. It is important for us to recognize the unprecedented nature of what ICE was doing in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the way that federal agents, ICE agents, were being deployed without any clear guidelines, training, pulling people off, out of their homes, using 5-year-olds to try to
bait their parents.
Yeah. All the stuff that we saw, tear gassing crowds simply who were standing there, not breaking any laws.
All right, y'all. So this video is so epic to me. The conversation, I love Obama. He's so professional. He's so classy. He really exudes what a real presidential leader should look like. So I want us to see this because we need to see the imagery. So I'm gonna just go ahead and put this up here, okay? And we can watch this and listen to this together. Because I really want us to fully not be able to just hear, but see the passion, see the professionalism, see the I don't even know the word to say for it, but it was just an epic interview. And also the professionalism of Brian. I love watching him when he sits down and has these conversations and interviews. So let's go ahead and watch and listen together, y'all.
So the rogue behavior of agents of the federal government is deeply concerning and dangerous. But we should take a moment to appreciate the extraordinary outpouring of organizing, community building, decency, neighbors buying groceries for folks, accompanying children to school, teachers who were standing up for their kids, not just randomly, but in a systematic, organized way, citizens saying, this is not the America we believe in, and we're going to fight back, and we're going to push back with the truth, and with cameras, and with peaceful protests, and shining a light on the sort of behavior that in the past we've seen in authoritarian countries and we've seen in dictatorships, but we have not seen in America. And that kind of heroic, sustained behavior in sub-zero weather by ordinary people is what should give us hope. And it should remind us that at the end of the day, the way we get a democracy that's working, the way we get policies that actually are helping working families, get ahead, the way that we restore norms, rule of law, decency, it's going to be because we citizens are activated and paying attention and saying enough and saying, we have a different idea of what the American family should look like and community should look like. And that is what I'm seeing across the board. So, I was on a panel a while back, and I said, a lot of the values that we say we subscribe to, during easy times, during peaceful times, it's easy to say we believe in those things.
Right, when they're not challenged.
When they're not challenged. It's easy to believe in free speech when it doesn't seem like the government's trying to crack down on free speech. It's easy to say that we believe in the golden rule when we aren't at risk of being arrested when we exercise the golden rule.
Yeah.
Right now we're being tested. And the good news is what we saw in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and what we're seeing in places across the country, including here in Los Angeles, has been the American people saying, no, you know what, at least a good number of the American people saying, we're going to live up to those values that we say we believe in. And as long as we have folks doing that, I feel like we're going to get through this.
So I hear and appreciate what you're saying about the agency of individuals. As we look toward our elected officials, our Democratic leaders, I think something that I've been having a lot of trouble reconciling is for so long, it's felt like Democrats are solely focused on protecting norms, institutions, processes, and then you've got a Republican Party that sees what it wants and will find a way to get it. Laws be damned, Constitution be damned, rules be damned. And we're seeing that play out right now. And so, given this massive asymmetry, where it often leaves us feeling like it's a Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown over and over and over again situation, what needs to be done? And do you think that our Democratic leadership and our Democratic elected officials understand that for the first time?
Well, look, I think we have to acknowledge that we've got the harder job, right? So we believe in government as a tool for good, as a potential force to create more jobs and as a way to make sure that the planet doesn't roast, to make sure that as we move forward and the economy grows, that everybody and not just some are benefiting, and that kids are getting a good education. And what that means is that we have to think about the consequences of our actions. We have to try to figure out how do we get working majorities to actually pass laws and to implement those laws and to make things happen. Tearing stuff down doesn't require all that. So when you talk about Republicans, for example, it seems like they see what they want and they just go after it. Well, they've passed one significant piece of legislation since they've been, for all the hoopla, they haven't actually codified and institutionalized much of anything. They have poured a huge amount of money into ICE and their immigration agenda. And they've cut taxes for really wealthy people. And now they're trying to unravel a bunch of rules and norms and laws that are already in place. That's an easier job. So I say that because we should accept the responsibility and the challenge that our job is going to be a little bit harder. Because in order for us to get stuff done, like let's say the Affordable Care Act, well, we've got to cobble together a majority, and we've got to persuade, and we've got to convince. And so I do think that there's been some unwillingness on the part of Democrats in the past to break down some of the institutional barriers for us getting stuff done, just because, well, it's always been done that way. And I'll give you an example that frustrated the heck out of me when I was president, which was the filibuster in the Senate. The Senate is already structurally skewed and anti-majoritarian, right? It's hard for majorities to get stuff done whether it's trying to pass civil rights legislation in the 60s or, trying to get gun control legislation or what have you, because even though majority of people support it, Delaware and Wyoming have the same number of senators as California.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So that would require a constitutional amendment. You then compound that with a filibuster. And the truth is that Democrats for some time have been traditionalists in wanting to preserve that, when it blocks us from making government effective, which in turn makes people feel like government is corrupt and not caring about them.
Which lends itself
Which
to the
then lends
Republicans.
itself to the kind of, it gives folks like Trump an opening.
Yeah.
Right. So redistricting is another good example of where I strongly believe we should not be having politicians draw lines that determine who's voting for them. We should have voters decide who their politicians are. And, I've worked with Eric Holder to help set up the terrific work that, the NDRC has been doing to try to make sure that we have fair maps. But the fact that Governor Newsom here in California and others said, well, if they're going to try to gerrymander their way out of losing this upcoming midterm, then we're going to respond. And we're going to respond in a lawful way where we put it up to a referendum and let people decide and not just give away the store because of traditions. And that was the right response. So I do think that I don't want us to simply duplicate the behavior of the other side. I don't want us to have a slash and burn strategy where we don't care about rule of law. We don't care about some of the guardrails around our democracy. We start lying and having no regard for the truth the way the other side seems to be comfortable with right now. Because if that's how we fight, then we lose what we're fighting for. But that doesn't mean we have to get punked or be saps. And I do, or to cling to traditions just for the sake of tradition. I think what we have to continually evaluate is, in this moment in time, how do we make sure that we can advance our agenda in a way that reflects what's good for ordinary folks, not special interests, not simply the well-to-do. And how do we do that in a way that's consistent with integrity, honesty, democracy, the values that we claim to want to uphold? And I think it's possible to do that. But the reason I started with reminding ourselves, yes, we have a harder job because sometimes I think we're tough on Democrats, saying, why aren't you being as mean and tough and nasty as they are? Well, it's when I was president of the United States, I suppose I could have simply unilaterally ordered the military to, go into some red state and harass and intimidate a governor there, or cut off funding for states that didn't vote for me. I could have exercised that prerogative, but that is contrary to how I think our democracy is supposed to work. And I think we shouldn't get discouraged by the fact that we have a tougher job. What we should do is expect that our side is smart enough to figure it out.
So you had mentioned persuasion, and I think that that's a really good point here, because as we eventually head toward a next general election cycle, we're going to be contending with a lot of the same infighting that's plagued Democrats before. You'll often have leftists and progressives butting up against liberals and moderates. And look, you are the ultimate pragmatist. And so what advice do you have as we head toward this election cycle, this eventual 2028 election cycle, so that we don't devolve into the same, 2016 era Bernie Hillary redux that feels like it always consumes the left?
Well, look, first of all, I think it's important to remember that the divisions in the Democratic Party tend to get magnified in the media. Relative to the divides that exist in most other countries, where you have a parliamentary system, you have multiple parties, and you got Green Party, and you got the center left party, and you've got a socialist party, and sometimes you got a communist party.
Yeah.
Our differences get exaggerated. Listen, Bernie Sanders believes, just like Nancy Pelosi believes, just like Chuck Schumer believes, just like Hakeem Jeffries believes, just like AOC believes, in equality and non-discrimination against people because of race or gender or sexual orientation. Well, all Democrats believe in that. That's a core value. Democrats believe that government should provide a strong safety net for people when they're down on their luck. Everybody I just mentioned believes in that. Everybody believes that there should be some regulation of the market so that you don't have monopolies and oligopolies that are simply dictating the terms of the economy, and that we should have a tax system that levels out some of the inequalities that result. So I think it's important for us to remind ourselves as a starting point, what do we have in common? Most of the time, the differences are tactical. Right? It has to do with, well, how much of a tax hike can people put up with? How much regulation should we be thinking about when it comes to climate change? And if we recognize that typically the arguments in the Democratic Party aren't about core values, but are really around tactics and how do you get stuff done, now we can have a robust debate. And I want a robust debate.
Yeah.
And what we can also do is not try to nationalize every issue all the time. This last off-year election, I think, was a great example. You know, you've got a candidate like Spanberger in Virginia, who runs what would be considered a more centrist campaign and runs a terrific campaign. And then you've got Mamdani in New York, who runs a explicitly socialist grassroots campaign and excites and mobilizes folks. And that can win in New York City. It probably could not win in Virginia. And that's okay. That's healthy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we get into arguments. A recent one, this idea that the quote unquote abundance agenda is somehow a sellout, and folks on the left getting exercised because, oh, this is part of this sort of corporate Democrats trying to take over the party. Well, no, not really. What I think it is entirely legitimate to say, for example, we need to build more affordable housing, which is going to require higher taxes on people like me and people who are well off in order to subsidize the construction of affordable housing, let's say in a place like California, and also be able to say, you know what, there are a bunch of well-intentioned rules and zoning laws and so forth that baby boomers like me and existing homeowners have used to block the construction of affordable housing, even in democratic cities. And so if we want to actually deliver housing rather than have some abstract argument, then we got to figure out not an either or of do we spend more money or do we reform some of these things that are preventing the construction of affordable housing. We have to do both. And I want us to have those arguments. And one last thing I think that's I've noticed in a lot of our internal arguments, a lot of which, by the way, are taking place online, and ordinary voters, this is all completely off their radar screen. One of the things I think it's important for Democrats, for us also to recognize, progressives to recognize, folks on the left to recognize, it's possible for us to have a moral sense of what is right and true and what needs to be done, and also recognize that we are in a particular time and place here in America, and voters are not going to agree with us 100% on everything. And so it is not a sellout, it's not a betrayal to say that we're going to shape our agenda and our message in a way that allows us to build a working majority to get stuff done. And I think particularly around social issues, sometimes we get confused around this. You witness what happened in Minneapolis, and you say to yourself, morally speaking, that 5-year-old child who's standing in front of that SUV as his father's being dragged off, that child is equal to mine or any child. His immigration status, his nationality does not change the love and decency that we should be showing that child. But what is also true is that we're a nation of laws, we have borders, and we've got to figure out an immigration policy that is orderly and that is fair and is enforced in a sensible way that is compatible with our values, but may not fully capture the degree to which that kid should have the same chances in life as a U.S. citizen kid. But, you know, we've got to accommodate the reality that the majority of the American people think that there's a difference between somebody who's a U.S. citizen and somebody who's not, and that they want an orderly immigration system. And sometimes I think what happens in the online debate is if somebody suggests, well, we have to have some immigration enforcement, then somebody's going to point at that child and say, well, so you don't care about that kid.
Yeah.
So you must be a bad person. The same would be true, let's say, here in Los Angeles around the homeless issue. I think morally, ethically speaking, it is an atrocity that in a country this wealthy, we have people just on the streets. And we should have we should insist on policies that recognize their full humanity, people who are houseless, and be able to provide them the help and resources that they need. But we should also recognize that the average person, you know, doesn't want to have to navigate around a tent city in the middle of downtown, and that we're not going to be able to build a working majority and support for the resources that we need to help folks like that, whether it's drug treatment or temporary housing or what have you. We're not going to be able to generate support for it if we simply say, you know what, it's not their fault, and so they should be able to do whatever they want, because that's a losing political strategy. That doesn't mean that we care less about those folks. It means that if we really care about them, then we got to try to figure out how do we gain majority support and be practical in terms of what we can get through at this moment in time and build on those victories. That a lot of times is the arguments that are taking place, but they become sort of performative, and people start saying, you know, oh, you're selling out, or conversely, I think sometimes folks at the center say, you know, you're being impractical and dismissing legitimate critiques and concerns. And what we need to be able to do is to maintain both ideas at the same time, which is our long-term goals have to be driven by our values and our core beliefs and our ethics and our morals, in the sense that every person counts. And short term, we got to win elections.
Right.
And anyway, the good news is, I think that the folks that we are fighting politically the current White House, this administration, and their enablers, they're behaving so badly. They're doing such crazy stuff that it shouldn't be hard for our side to coalesce around the areas where we agree on and focus on that. And I think that that is going to happen if we are effective in winning the midterms. If we then have a robust primary for who's going to be the next Democratic president, we shouldn't be afraid of having a robust debate. I want all comers to sort this out. I benefited from having about as grueling a primary as I could have. It made me a better candidate. It ultimately made me a better president because I had been tested. My ideas had been tested. The story I was telling about America had been tested. And that's what we should be looking for, rather than expecting that somehow we're going to all come up with some consensus blueprint master plan that everybody's going to execute. Democrats aren't good at doing that anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think, one block of voters who I think there has been particular focus paid to right now is young voters. And you were able to mobilize a generation of young voters in a way that hadn't been done before. I got involved in politics because of you. And in fact, a lot of millennials, folks my age, got involved in politics because of you. Like when I was a student, you could not find any other students on campus who were not supporting your campaign. Democrats and you had owned the cultural zeitgeist in a way that hadn't been done before, and frankly hasn't been done since. And we've seen a shift happen, obviously, from 2008, 2012 up to 2024. Right. And for the first time, we saw Democrats really lose their grip on culture in a way that hadn't happened before. And so what is your advice in terms of remobilizing a generation of Americans that we've had trouble mobilizing up to this point?
Well, look, part of it has to do with the fact that I was young.
Yeah.
And
maybe don't nominate octogenarians?
Look, I'm 64 now.
All right, y'all. So what an excellent conversation. And as much as I want to play it all the way to the very end for us to listen together, I got to move on now because I got one last video to play. But you guys, you got to go over and check out, if you don't already know and aren't already subscribed to, Brian. Oh, God. I always get his name wrong because his name is similar to somebody else's name I know. Brian Tyler Cohen. Okay. Y'all got to check him out. Go over and subscribe to his channel. Become a member over there and check out his content. He's really dope. But I'm going to take this quick song break, and then we're going to go ahead and move into our final video for the live, y'all. We're going to slide into a little bit of comedy, but I really hate to stop that because, oh my God, what a great conversation. I just really love Barack Obama. I love how he speaks. I love his mindset, when it comes to his political vision. I believe it is a vision where it's like, that's what's necessary. That's what we need. And we know with presidents, a lot of time when they get into office, they have to clean up what the previous ones did before they can even make any real moves and bringing certain type of changes. But there was a lot of changes that he was able to bring. And he had a real perfect vision as to, in my opinion, as to how things need to be done for the people. And there's a sense of pride and integrity and empathy and love and unity that he held in his heart and his mind. And he did what he could, the best that he could during his time in the administration to put things in place that were going to help the people. He really got it right. And he couldn't do everything because we understand presidents, they just can't wave the magic wand and do everything. But then again, I'm starting to question that because when it comes to doing the right things, seems like there's stops and stipulations. But when it comes to just being a tyrant, seems like there's no limit on that. So a lot of times to me, that's what be making me question, like, that don't seem right or fair because we've always supposed to understand that, a president is, you know, able to do a certain amount of things, and then there's some things that they can't do. This one we got right now seems to be doing just anything and everything that he wants to do and wreaking havoc over the country. But when you're a good one and you want to do things that's really going to help the country and the people and make things better, that's when you get stopped and told that you can't do certain things and you can only go this far or you only have this much power. So I'm a little bit confused about all of that. We're going to have to figure that out, y'all, but that's another conversation for another live. Let's go ahead and take this quick song break, and then we'll get into our final video for the live and get a little comedy up in here, okay? Thank y'all for rocking with me, and we'll be right back.
Oh, say, can you see? Look up, child. By the dawn's early light, it's a new day. What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming. Hold your head. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Through the perilous fight. All the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, let it shine. The bombs bursting in air, we won't back down. Gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, it's still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Wait for justice.
All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and get into our last video of the live. And this is from none other than Reese Waters. And, you know, y'all, he used to be a stand-up comedian. And so there's a lot of like comedy that he brings to the reporting that he does as well over on his YouTube channel, covering a lot of political things as well and things that are just going on basically in our society. And so on this conversation, he has said, okay, racist Valentine's Day is officially over. This follows a string of controversial, racially insensitive tribute cards and AI generated memes that surfaced yesterday, this February 14th, that were mocking minority figures or historical struggles. He uses his trademark wit to dismantle why these jokes aren't landing and why the culture is finally pushing back against this specific brand of holiday bigotry. So let's go ahead and get into that video, y'all. I know what it sounds like, but rock with me, bear with me. I'm telling you. We got some truth up in here and we got some comedy up in here. So let's go ahead and listen to this from Reese Waters. If y'all have not checked out his channel or his platform, please do so. Go over there and subscribe and become a member and check out a lot of his content. It is really great. Let's go ahead and watch this together, y'all. I'm gonna meet y'all in the chat per usual.
Lord said need to be mad that the Black Power Ranger was disrespecting him by fighting with that hairline. No, I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to. You know how many nights I spent crying because of the way that hairline looked? You know what I mean? And you know what it felt like going to a predominantly white institution knowing all of my classmates was going to go home and see London bridges falling down? Come on. Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and this is Racist of the Week, where we explore the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And of course, if you have any nominees, you can drop them in the comments. You can email me at admin@reesewaters.com. Now, there I was trying to figure out how MAGA was going to justify offering refugee status to Venezuelans. America first. If it wasn't America first now, was it America first before? How y'all gonna do that? Oh, that is fascinating. Yeah, and good luck making sense of the logic of the whole thing.
In a stunning late-night operation, I had some friends of mine execute a raid on my neighbor Tom's house. He put up quite a fight, but we got through, and he's in custody. I haven't liked what he's been doing over there for a while now, so I've decided to run his house myself. He leaves his Christmas lights up too long. He never trims his avocado tree that hangs over my fence, and I believe he's running fentanyl out of there. I can't prove the last one, but it makes sense. I've seen him speak Spanish. I got rid of the wife as well. I didn't really have a problem with her, but we did do a 4th of July block party, and she brought empanadas, so better safe than sorry. I've got them at a Residence Inn a couple towns over. I've been using his home as my own little man cave. Pretty great. It turns out he has a fantastic wine cellar that I have tapped into extensively. Anyway, I'll be running his home until a time when I can have a safe, proper, and judicious turnover to some other guy, which probably won't be happening soon. And just a heads up, I plan to take over some other neighbors' homes as well. Phil, across the street, has a pretty cool car I'd like to be in charge of. And Alex, who lives catty corner from me, has a wife who's a yoga instructor. Be taking that one soon. Again, doing it for the good of the neighborhood, so stay tuned.
Well, I was definitely not prepared for where the rabbit hole took me.
So apparently there was a white supremacist dating site.
X? Is it X? Is it X?
Look, Dad, where did you get it? Dad, answer me. Who taught you how to do this stuff? You, all right?
Is that? No, okay, I'll let you finish.
So apparently there was a white supremacist dating site, and it got infiltrated by an old school anarchist researcher. And this person who infiltrated goes by the name Martha Root. She spent the last couple of months collecting all of the data of a bunch of the members that are now public. And she did it by using AI to make these people fall in love with robots.
She used AI for the white. So AI know how to woo in white supremacy? That's impressive. I seen AI boxing and I seen AI running. I didn't know AI could kick game in white supremacy. You know, who knew?
They created a leak site called okstupid.lol.
Soft clam.
All right. We cooking. Put some Lowry's on there.
Finger licking good special. That's what I'm talking about.
Where you can see all the details of all the people who had profiles on White Date.
I'm sorry. Did you say it was called White Date? It's called White Date. It's creative. Surprised y'all didn't go with White Party. You know why they didn't go with white party.
They took all my baby, oh.
You know exactly why they didn't go with white. That man likely to show up with 6 truckloads of baby oil. That ain't what they want.
The bots were so convincing, they bypassed the verification process and were even verified as white. Martha Root then dressed like a pink Power Ranger to protect her identity and went on stage at CCC, the Chaos Communications Conference in Germany that happens every year around the holidays.
The pink Power Ranger? I knew the pink Power Ranger was a real. You know, I knew the pink Power Ranger was a real. Definitely realer than that Black Ranger.
Right, these two are mine.
You saw what his hairline looked like.
What did Martha Root do while dressed as a pink Power Ranger on stage at CCC? Ran a bunch of scripts, deleting the whole website. The audience erupted in applause when each of these steps marked done. Change the mail password, log into Hostinger, delete whitechild.net, whitedeal.net, whitedatev server, deleted everything, deleted their backups. This went on for a few minutes. So Martha Root, pink Power Ranger, spent months, made a bunch of white supremacists fall in love with AI chatbots, was so convincing that infiltrated and got data about so many of them, built a website to leak it all called okstupid.lol, and then nuked their entire everything from orbit. This might be one of the most legendary things to happen in hacker culture in a very long time.
I would put it up there with LimeWire and Kazaa. I would put it up with LimeWire and Kazaa. And matter of fact, I would put it above those because this one didn't cost me my family computer. You know, those cost me untold family computers. This one didn't cost me nothing. So shout out to her. There's good trouble and there's great trouble. And then there's Martha. Remind me to never cross this woman's path. She built a dating website for white supremacists and used chatbots to get them to admit their darkest secrets, then posted it all. And like many of you, I had this exact response. Now do Epstein.
Come on. Do it. Do it.
Martha, can we get Epstein or literally anything about what we got going on here would be great. She didn't build it. That was a different, rather evil woman trying to build a network of white supremacists. Megyn Kelly? Was it Megyn Kelly? Did she know how to code? Does she know how to code? She can't even coordinate her foundation. You see, come on, man.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Martha took control of it after using a chatbot to get information from thousands of its users, closed it, and deleted it live on stage, dressed as a pink Power Ranger. And here you see her flossing said costume.
Vor der letzten Bundestagswahl habe ich rechte Netzwerke gescraped. Einmal quer durch deren Ökosystem. Links, Knotenpunkte.
You know Lord Zed was furious. All that time Lord Zed spent working on the white supremacist website, and then the pink Power Ranger did it by herself. That's crazy. That is wild. Lord Zed need to be mad that the Black Power Ranger was disrespecting him by fighting with that hairline. No, I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to you know how many nights I spent crying because of the way that hairline looked? You know what I mean? And you know what it felt like going to a predominantly white institution, knowing all of my classmates was going to go home and see London bridges falling down? Come on.
What were you looking at when you was cutting it? Like, was you trying to just go like in a half moon? Like, what was the whole game plan from the beginning? Because you can tell what an edge up is supposed to be. Like that third line, that third wrinkle in his head from the bottom. If you're coming from the eyes, that's where that hairline's supposed to begin at, fam. Like, whoever, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if they was trying to repair this boy or if they was doing damage, but yo.
That's why he be dancing all the time. That's why he was always dancing. You thought he was shucking and jiving. No, he was just trying to keep his hairline moving. You know what I mean? So you couldn't get a good, you couldn't put no ruler on it or nothing.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
And here is the moment it all went down. Now, I want to shout out to everybody that was at the Chaos Conference. And I'll be honest, if you ask me about the response that the Chaos Conference would have to something like this, 50-50, 50-50, I would have thought it would have been some overlap. But no, I didn't know your game. Chaos Conference, I wasn't familiar with your game. I wasn't familiar with your game. I will let y'all cook. Now, a lot of you guys are probably wondering what I am, which is where these people came from. Well, here you have a map of member clusters of White Date. But what you really need to see is right here, a chart showing where users of the white supremacist dating site came from. You get Germany at 10%, the UK at 7%, France 6.7%, Canada 6.3%. Everybody else is below 3%. And the United States with 63.4% of the members of White Date worldwide. The racism allegations are going very poorly. Your defense against the racism allegations are going so. Black MAGA, you know.
Oh my God! Derek, stop doing. Get your get up. Your ass is backing off. Silly. Your ass up.
63% worldwide.
Being by that boom, Mr. Worldwide, when I step up in a room, dial
Tinder for Yahtzees hit by 100 gig data leak, thousands of users exposed. Do you think it was anybody that was in this data leak and the Ashley Madison? It got to be somebody that was like, again, can't go nowhere. You know what I mean? Can't go nowhere. I might as well go back home.
I want to go home.
The leak affects White Date, a white supremacist dating site for Europids seeking tribal love. White Child, a white supremacist site focused on family and ancestry, and White Deal, a networking and professional development site for people with a racist worldview. Okay, let's deal with White Deal first. I'm going to need to holler at all of my anti-DEI soldiers, you know, my Pete Hegseth and all the people that are rail against DEI, Elise Stefanik, all my because y'all wanted a meritocracy, right? Y'all wanted a colorblind meritocracy. White Deal. Have fun. That's nothing compared to what the people on White Child gonna find. Imagine in the year of our Lord 2025, going into an ancestry website to try and reaffirm racial purity. You was better off just making the claims and putting your head in the sand. Don't open that email. Don't open that email. It's going to be, you're going to find some Jamars. You're going to find some Chiefs. Okay. You definitely going to find some Jamars and some Chiefs. I know that That off the rip.
You're going to learn today.
All three platforms were operated by a right-wing extremist from Germany. And in fact, they were able to discover the woman who owned the site of White Date and also recorded her visiting NSDAP and Yahtzee meetings. I infiltrated a racist dating site and made Yahtzees fall in love with robots, Root claims. The journalist found that website cybersecurity hygiene was so poor, it would make even your grandma's AOL account blush. She said the white supremacy cybersecurity had poor hygiene. Brother, get rid of cybersecurity in that sentence. Just say it was a mistake. Let's just get rid of cybersecurity in that sentence. That works for me. Imagine calling yourselves the master race, but forgetting to secure your own website. Maybe try mastering to host WordPress before world domination. She cooking. She cooking. Are we still on a pause with cookout invitations? Because put her on the waiting list. Put her on the waiting list, and she's 1,000% correct. The master race. It's almost like, as I just outlined, trying to push for a colorblind society while a meritocratic world while openly suppressing the others. Because white men need to be in charge. Isn't that right? Isn't that white? Because white men need to be in charge. But, that won't happen organically. So put your thumb on them.
And we are reclaiming our noble heritage.
The data includes highly sensitive and detailed self-reporting information such as usernames, gender, age, location, activity history, lifestyle, height, eye color, hair color, and other physical appearance traits, income range, education, marital status, religion, and even self-assessed IQ, among many other fields. Well, I got your activity history is going to be minimal, because they found this in the first place. So there ain't going to be no activity history. And then the income range is definitely going to be low, because if the income range is high, then they just go to Mar-a-Lago. You know what I mean? They don't need to do none of this stuff online. My name is Joseph. I'm a 29-year-old Special Forces veteran who has a passion for cooking, health, and fitness and philosophy. I'm currently looking for land to homestead on. I'm currently an automotive engineer, and my favorite part of the job is restoring old trucks, which is something I look forward to teaching my children. I am a Christian and also enjoy the mystic, esoteric aspects of my faith. I am somewhat a trad hippie. I want lots of children and a wife who will help me homeschool them. I'm looking for marriage and take relationships seriously, but I'm extremely romantic and lighthearted. I want a best friend as much as a lover, and someone to lead and take care of. I'm very emotionally mature and compassionate, and I have an endless well of love to give. Joseph, you forgot something, didn't you? You forgot something. You forgot something.
What?
Put the white supremacy in there. Yeah, put the white, because right, you could be on match with that one. You know what I mean? You gotta put the white supremacy in there. Where do you? I don't know where you put. Do you lead with the? You probably could lead with it on White Date. You probably could lead with it on White Date, but who knows? I don't know if you want to get a couple of lines in. You know what I mean? I'm just a fun-loving guy. Whites only, white power. And I like to hike and fish and things of that nature.
Holy freaking crap, guys! A hacker just took down an entire white supremacist dating website live on stage after collecting every single one of their members' data by making them fall in love with chatbots. Oh, Martha Root, you were my hero.
Root claims that the platform's gender ratio makes the Smurf village look like a feminist utopia The site is overwhelmingly male. Hey. I guess you'd be lucky if you were talking to the bots, because y'all could have been talking to each other. And I know how y'all feel about that.
All right, y'all. So we are at the half-minute mark on this Reese video. Child, hilarious. People being exposed exactly for, how they are, how they move, how they operate. But I have reached like over the 2-hour mark. We like 2 hours and 40 minutes in. So I gotta go ahead and stop it here, y'all. I'm so sorry. If you want to watch this entire video from beginning to end, like I said, please head over to Reese Waters' channel. Please subscribe, become a member like I am over there, and check out his content. He's really dope. He did stand-up comedy, and now, he does like some of the political stuff. And actually, it's just not all political. He covers a little bit of everything, but he gives it to us with a dose of comedy, that relief that we need sometimes to make a lot of these dark things a little bit lighter, okay? So we're going to go ahead and take a quick little song break. After the song break, unusually, I am going to come back and give some final thoughts after the song break, and then we'll go ahead and end this live, and I will see y'all on the next one. We got some really good things coming up, y'all. So thank you so much for coming and stopping in to listen to what we had to say today and some of the content that we had to offer. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of the support. And I will be talking to y'all on the next one. So let's go ahead and get into this song break. And after that, I have some final words for you all. All right, we'll be right back.
They tell you stay entertained, stay distracted, stay divided, I said. Stay dangerous. You learn. You're legit. You want the tea, you want the beef, you want the who said what. But when it's time to build a life, you keep your big mouth shut. You binge watch chaos, call it keeping it fun. But when it's time to grow, suddenly your bud addicted to the circus, dancing for $1 bill. While they harvesting your focus, popping every kind of pill. Algorithm got you trapped, a digital lobotomy. You'd rather watch a dummy captain claim your sovereignty. Wake up! You feel it, don't you? No, you know. That pressure in your chest, that whisper saying, you were built for more than this. High frequency, keep going viral. Did the single noise, let the real ones grow. Play for the stand tall, break the spell. We ain't building our minds and build or ourselves. High frequency, crown don't tilt. Truth so heavy, make the weak ones will. If the numbers drop when the truth gets strong, then let them fall. We moving on. Keep it pushing. They call it just content. I call it control. If it numbs your spirit, it's a tax on your soul. You're arguing in comments about a rapper, some address, while you're suffocating slowly in the world of curated stress. They fear the woman who thinks for herself, who don't chase clout and don't chase wealth. I'm a golden queen, 10 toes down in the mud. Now you chasing likes and spilling everybody's blood. Are you entertained or enslaved? Are you informed or inflamed? Does the gossip worth your soul? Is it? Unplug the wire, activate the cell. Mama warrior told you. Now bring that fire. When the team cut the signal noise, let the real ones drink. Stand tall, break the spell. We ain't building our minds in the digital cell. Free love, see, ground don't tilt. Don't it? Truth so heavy, make the weak ones will. Crushing it. I'd rather lead a few who see than rule a million. Flip the shit, not a sheeper. I'm a warrior. Yeah, numbers drop when the truth gets loud. I don't see it, but I'd rather have the crown than a brainless crowd. Never quantity to the world, from the mud to the throne, from silence to signal. Mama warrior, golden queen. Signal strong, static gone. Let me iron get close, static flatline.
All right, y'all. So I just want to go ahead and play that song for us. We're going to go ahead and get up out of here. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with something real, okay? We spent these several hours here. Child, I'm so sorry. Looking at the wreckage, the Epstein Files surfacing from the past, the legal maneuvers of Judge Cannon, and the rude awakening of the economy that doesn't always have our backs. We see an administration sending out fake lists while the infrastructure collapses. And we see the racial tension of racist Valentine's Day. People who thought on Valentine's Day it would be funny to post up videos on their socials that were very racist. That still tries to divide us to this very day. But here's the hard truth. We cannot demand accountability from our leaders if we don't demand it from ourselves first. We've learned some lessons today. We've learned that the past never stays buried, so we must live lives of integrity. We learned that data doesn't lie, even when people do. So we must be disciplined with our finances and our focus. We learned that when guardians of the old system leave, it's up to us to step into those gaps. Stop waiting for a hero on a white horse or a knight in shining armor to come and save you. If the economy is shifting, we have to shift. If the news is fake, we have to be the fact checkers. If the world is cold, we have to be the warmth. Accountability means we stop being spectators to our own lives and start being the architects. But don't dare leave here discouraged, because that's not the point, and that's not the type of content that I come to bring. Because the reckoning is just about things falling apart. It's about the truth falling into place. Every time a file is unsealed, it's a victory for the light. Every time we learn how to cut corners and survive, we become more powerful and less dependent. Like Barack Obama reminded us, and like the energy of Reese Water brings, our culture is resilient. We are the bad bunnies of our own story, vibrant, loud, and impossible to ignore. We're the survivors. We need to take care of each other this week. Cut the corners if we need to. Save that money, because child, things is getting expensive. Keep our eyes on the real data and never let them delete your hope. The truth is out and the lights are on. And the power, as it has always been, is in our hands. All right, y'all. That's all I got for this live. I'll see y'all on the next one. Remember, stay woke, stay blessed, and stay ready. Thank y'all so much for joining me on this live this evening. This afternoon. I will talk to y'all on the next live. Everybody have a great rest of this Sunday. Golden out. Bye.
You tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queen. H2.0. Let's get it. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear. Yo, welcome to the Queendom. H2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. So if you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must. This ain't just another channel talking talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up of the scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought.
Oh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. 'Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me unleash the dragon. You've been warned.
Yeah. Don't make me unleash the dragon. You've been warned. Yeah. Don't make me unleash the dragon. You've been warned. Yeah. Yeah. Golden Queen Age 2.0. The movement starts now. Go ahead. Hit subscribe, ring that notification bell. You don't want to miss a thing. Welcome to the family.